What's up, guys? This video is going to cover the school lunch project. Here's an example of the monthly menus we get. This is May, including today, including the rest of the school year. And I've taken this plus the previous months, compiled them into this CSV style format with the date, a comma, the breakfast, a comma, and then the lunch items, which may be 4 or 5 things, or it may be a different amount, separated by commas. Each line is 1 day, and that's it all the way to the end, about 200 lines. So I'm going to ask you guys to write some code and answer a few questions. You can choose the easy, which is exactly like what we did in Unit 15, open, read some stuff, close it, return a result. You can do the medium, which is kind of combining that with what we did in Unit 13 with a dictionary. Or you could do the hard, which is just taking that plus 1 extra dimension. In this video, I'll try to show them and remark upon how you might do it differently along the way. So let's take a look here. How many lines include the word cheese? It's not the most common word, but it's up there. So let's make a little function. And just like in 15, I'm going to try to do all the setup before we get into the content. I'm going to go open, and then we're going to do some stuff, and then we're going to close, and then we're going to return some stuff, and then we're going to print that thing with the file. And in Unit 15, I basically did that 5 times in a row to show that every file, every project, every program is kind of the same when you get into it and get out of it. It's just the middle that's the different. So what is the middle that's the different part here? Well, we're going to look through each line, and Unit 15 showed a couple of ways to do that. You can use the read lines method to get them all in a list, or you can use a for loop, or they actually started with a while loop, so I'll start that way just to follow what we learned. So you can go while f.readline, and then you realize, hey, if in, what is it called? What's the name? Well, we have to give it a name. And the nicest way to do that is with the, if I could type it right, the walrus operator. It's called the walrus because it looks kind of like eyes and tusks if you turn your head. This takes exactly what you did, nothing different, but slaps a name on it. So hey, read line, you know that thing we just called? Call it line. At the result of that, we have a name. So now we have a thing we can compare it with, and now we say, okay, I want to add up this count. And then you realize, oh, there isn't a count. We have to create one. We have to initialize, and then, oh, we're done. So you could say, all right, let's do that. And when we run it, we're going to see how many lines have the word cheese. It's 111, and that's not the winner. I think if you test for salad, for example, it's a little bit more. So if you wanted to be cool, you could say, hey, maybe we could do like a generic function that looks for any word, but no, it's fine. We'll keep it simple. So this is going to tell us how many times did that show up per line. So if it was in the line twice, we only count that once. However, you could use the read lines method and do a for loop like that. Totally fine. Or you could realize this looks like a prime candidate for a list comprehension. You could say, hey, oop, oop, and you know, if you have a Boolean like the result of this expression, you can put it through the sum function, because the sum treats true as 1, which it is. It's not like a trick to say true is 1. It really is 1. And false is 0. So guess what? That is another way to express the same thing. And I really like this way. I think it's nice because you put the key important stuff first. Like, yes, we are adding up how many times this is true. And then you put the arrangement last. You say, oh yeah, by the way, we're going through the lines. But this is kind of front and center in my mind, and I like to put it front and center in the code. So I'm going to keep it like that, but they're all equally good. Okay, next. What was the most common breakfast? Well, this is really the same because we're still counting each line one time, so it's not like adding a new dimension to it. We just have to peel off the second column, the breakfast thing, with maybe an index or maybe an unpacking kind of situation. Let's see what we can do here. I'm actually going to copy this because it's so similar. We're going to go breakfast. I'm going to say counts with an S because it's more than one. And then we're going to say breakfasts equals line 1 for line in f.readlines. Is that right? Well, before we do the counting and the other stuff, let's just return breakfasts and see what happens. Oh my gosh. Autocomplete, usually a help, not always. So let's go and see if we're on the right track. Turns out we were on the right track, but we did something dumb, which is that I got character 1 instead of column 1. So if you get a line and you say like, oh, index 1, then it gives you the second thing because it goes 0, 1. What I meant to do was split it on the comma and then give me the second thing. Okay, so I forgot to do that, and I can throw it in here like that. And then now we've got all the breakfasts. They haven't been sorted or filtered or counted or anything, so they look bad, but this is the breakfasts and nothing else from each line. So we're ready. I will probably take out the no school ones because we don't really care about how many times that happened. But now we just do a count. We've done that before. We had one called word counts where it was like going through a piece of text and you say, oh, the word the, I've seen that before, so I bump up the count by 1. And then the word house, I haven't seen that, so I start it at 1, and then you just go through the whole thing. So let's do that. Let's make a little counter function. And I'm going to make it generic so that it can work on anything. I'm just going to say stuff. And every time you see a thing, you have two possibilities. Either it's new or it's not. If it's not, we bump it up. If it's new, we start it. So we go, okay, if item in counts, that one's wrong, then counts item plus equal 1, else counts item equal 1. And then that's it. We never have to talk about the zeros because the zeros are things we don't see and don't exist. Now, let's say counts, or counter of breakfasts. And if I run that, I'm going to see a dictionary with the thing and how many times. Hey, look at that. Bosco stick, 7 times. Banana chocolate square, only 1. Okay, fair enough. This looks good. I think it's the right data, but it's too cluttered. I don't want to see all the riffraff who only appeared once. I want to see the top few, like Halloween glazed donut. Of course, that's not the most common because it was only on Halloween, I assume. So how can we do that? Well, I'm not going to change the counter. I'm not going to change this. I'm just going to change the output. Like when we print it, let's print like just the elite. Okay, so let's go for, when we have a dictionary, we often just say K and V like key value. But I could say breakfast and count or whatever, or B and C, you know. And the way to get the contents of the dictionary is go dot items. I don't remember if they told us that in Unit 13, but it's one of the key things you need to know. So we're going to go if v is greater than 5, print kv. And we're going to see just the top few. Yeah, that looks great. Let's say if v is greater than 5 and k is not, no school. How about that? Beautiful. So we can see that maple bacon donut was the top breakfast only 8 times. I thought there would be one that was like 30, but the variety could be combined into related ones. For example, if there's a ham and cheese biscuit and a ham and cheese sandwich, maybe those are close enough you want to count them as the same thing, which would then be the winner. We'll hold off on that for now. Let's go to the final question, which is how many types of pizza? Well, guess what? That gets into the thing I just mentioned about combining categories, so we'll see how that comes up. In fact, this is actually pretty darn similar to the last one. Let's copy this, see what happens. I'm going to go pizza. Types. We open. We say pizzas equals. Well, here's where it gets a little tricky because we're not just taking one per line. We're taking maybe 2. Some lines have 2 pizzas. Some lines have none. So it's like adding another dimension. It's like making it 2-dimensional instead of 1, which is a little bit trickier. We could do a for loop inside a for loop. We could do a deeper comprehension. We could make a separate function to extract. Well, we'll see what happens. I'm just going to go placeholder. And then we probably will return the counter again, at least at first, to get it started, right? Okay, so first, let's just do it the ugly way. Let's make a for loop and another for loop. So, okay, fine. For line in f.readlines. And then we can go for food in line.split. I'm not taking just the lunch because breakfast includes pizza too. Now, I'm about to check if the word pizza is in there, so that's going to exclude all the dates, but remember that I actually am including dates in here, which is not a food, which does not make sense, and could lead to trouble later. Let's say if pizza and food. And you can see why I don't like this, because it's like loop, loop, indent, indent, and we're going so far down this rabbit hole where when I type something now, I find it impossible to remember how we got here. And so my instinct is to break it up, maybe extract one and do a function or do a comprehension. But let's keep going and make it work and then make it pretty. So let's say pizzas.append food. And then, yeah, let's see what happens. This is, yep, counting the pizzas. Fully loaded pizza, 19 times. Cool. I do see a problem. This little guy, the new line character, the equivalent of hitting enter and going to the next line, wasn't a problem before because we were dealing with the stuff on the left side. But when we go all the way to the right, if the last thing was part of our result, then it actually has an invisible new line character. And we don't want those because they're messing it up. Plus they're ugly, right? So I should go line.strip.split. Let's run it again and see how that goes. Hey, it got shorter, which means that some of them were combined. If there was like a cheeseburger pizza at the end of a line and a cheeseburger pizza in the middle of a line, they would have been counted separately until now. What's next? Well, I really want to change this. I hate indenting 5 times, but hold on. What else could we do? Let's do a quick check of how many. Len of counter of pizzas. And it's going to say 24. But there really aren't that many. If you look at this, you'll see like BBQ, sriracha, chicken, and then the same thing, and then the same thing, and they're all like misspelled or abbreviated or rearranged. Those should be combined, right? There's one that says sausage and jalapeno, and there's one that says jalapeno sausage. Those should be combined, okay? There's one that says buff chicks, and there's another one that says buffalo chicken. Those should be combined. When I did a deeper version and I had those categorized and did a little fuzzy match of the ones that were close enough, I ended up with 13. So that was almost twice as many here because of the little variations. I don't want to make this video a dang hour, but I'll show you what I had. Earlier I was messing around with this and I showed people in class of like, oh, what if it's like cheese something and cheeseburger, meat lovers, but don't confuse it with the meatball and whatever. I'm not asking you to do that, but it was an interesting rabbit hole to go down. What do we got here? Well, this counter function was reused twice because we made it nicely generic. And guess what? Python does have a counter built in that you could just import and use, and it's great. But all it does is this, and we can write that, no problem. Another thing you could do if you were looking to be more advanced is to use a context manager. Python has this syntax with the word with, and if you say with open file name and you do your stuff, it will automatically close it at the end. It will also automatically close it if it hits an error along the way, which is really nice, and I'll show you that next time. But hey, what did we get? The hard one in only a couple lines. The medium one was set up for the hard one, so it ended up longer. But none of these were that crazy, and I think all of them were things we've seen before, at least one way or the other in Unit 12, 13, 15, and I guess the string methods before that. So take a minute, see if you can get one of those, or come up with a question of your own, like how were the average August lunches different from the average January lunches? Maybe we could do something with the date, which we haven't yet. Think about it.